Welcome to Hollywood Beach, my favorite beach in the world. We have everything: fresh air, sunshine, sand, Atlantic Ocean waves, and on the Broadwalk, lots of shops, bars, music, hotels, people watching, and history. Lots of history. Why is it called the Broadwalk? Let's find out. Come stroll with me, meet some friends, and learn more about Hollywood Beach. Let's go! Woo! Joseph Wesley Young invited the entire nation to his city, Hollywood by the Sea. Construction was underway on the Hollywood Broadwalk, a unique cement promenade 30 feet wide, stretching along the shoreline for a distance of 1.5 miles and patterned after Atlantic City's famed Broadwalk. But it's not made of boards. It was at one point, and you'll hear about that later. But arguably, it's not very broad either. Let's start our tour at the Hollywood Beach Cultural and Community Center just south of Hollywood Boulevard. Recently, the city of Hollywood began accepting proposals to develop a 30-story multi-use complex, rental, residential, shops, and a new oceanfront community center. Some residents feel the beach is getting overcrowded with high-rises. Others feel the tax and lease revenue will greatly benefit the city. What will happen here? Only time will tell. Hollywood is constantly changing, creating new stories and remembering the old. Further north, you'll find Harry Berry Park and the parking lot. Make sure to pay the meters at all the parking lots or you will quickly be ticketed or booted. I recommend, if possible, to ride your bicycle, take the bus, and there's even a free service called the Circuit that will pick you up downtown Hollywood and take you to the beach. Once you're here, there's lots of fun ways to get around. You can either rent bikes, all kinds of bikes, rollerblade, four-wheel, walk, run, or whatever contraption. Just no motorized vehicles, no pets, and no skateboards. I don't understand this rule. And don't come on vacation and leave on probation. Hollywood Beach has also banned all styrofoam and single-use plastic in the restaurants, so don't bring it to the beach either. And please, don't litter. Just north of Harry Berry Park is Alvin's, the southernmost Broadwalk restaurant bar. This was a sushi restaurant for years. The most notable building on Hollywood Beach is the Hollywood Beach Resort. It was built in 90 days, and some say it's haunted.
To talk about Hollywood Beach, you have to talk about Joseph Young Jr. But the major thing that he was planning for his city was the boulevard would lead to the beach island with a major hotel set on that land. And it became known as the Beach Hotel, Hollywood Beach Hotel. Some of his ideas, in fact quite a few of them, he had already gotten from Long Beach, California, where he lived from age of 20, so 1902 to about 1915. And Long Beach was just developing as a resort while he was living there. So among other things that he saw them put in was a cement walk along the sand with shops on one side and sand on the other. So he built a broadwalk made of cement, pink cement. The pink cement blocks of the broadwalk ended up in North Lake after the 26 hurricane. And for a while it was just wood, but now it's back to being a broadwalk. And it was always the broadwalk. So Young's plan was to put his hotel not only on the island, but definitely overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. That was a step that he did Fisher and, of course, Flagler had both built major hotels in Miami, but both of those faced Biscayne Bay. None of them were facing the ocean. So Young came along and his hotel was on the Atlantic. To get to the beach, he couldn't use this area. He couldn't just run his boulevard right down because this was all marsh. So he had to create the lakes. And while he was doing that, he was building kind of a causeway leading down to the intercoastal, which would be the boulevard. At the same time, he had to get a bridge in. So he was able to come down Johnson Street. They narrowed the canal a little on Johnson Street, put a barge in that they could drive over, but also open so boats could go by. So Johnson Street was the first street that led to the beach island. And then he put in Ocean Drive, which is still there. And gradually he and his workmen were working their way toward where the boulevard was going to come along the beach, and at the same time other workmen were putting in the causeway and the boulevard leading to the beach hotel.
There was no other building at the time this thing was built that was more grand in Florida. It was the largest concrete hotel in the state when it was built. So over the years, because modern times and new hotels, it kind of went downhill a little bit, and then the State Department of Transportation built a new bridge over the Intercoastal Waterway, which caused the ramp to jut in front of the hotel and ruin the grand entrance, which there was fountains and gardens and landscaping. It turned into the Bible College for about 10 years. It was a gigantic college for seminary students. And then they decided they were going to sell because it was too big for them, and a group of investors bought it and thought that they would turn it into the Ocean Walk Mall, and it would be this fabulous oceanfront hotel and mall with the shops and all this other stuff. Ocean Walk went bankrupt within 1 year. For some reason, it just never took off, and it's been in limbo ever since. When it was new, the finest shops were in that hotel. It was like the Breakers. It was like the Biltmore. It was like the National in Bal Harbor. This was not a cheap place to stay. It was very expensive to stay there. Eddie Cantor stayed there a lot. I mean, he even had a radio broadcast from the Hollywood Beach Hotel. But now when you walk through, there's nothing there. But if you want to see something, if you want to see what the old hotel looked like, the best place to do that is the second floor, and you stand and you look west, and the original arched windows, arched doorways are there, and the original coved plaster ceiling is still there, and the original terrazzo from 1925. The whole entire floor is terrazzo. If you want to know what the Ocean Walk Mall is today, there is a Facebook page called Abandoned Florida Sites. And that mall is on it, because you can literally walk to the south end of the mall and see the escalator that they put in the 80s when Miami Vice was still hot. And it's pink and blue ceramic tile, the same tile, and the escalator is rusted. I literally rusted in place. The fountain that surrounds the escalator is bone dry with debris and rocks and garbage. It's literally like abandoned, yet in that same lobby, in that same interior space, you walk a few hundred feet and there's the lobby for the hotel. It doesn't get any weirder than that.
In the summer of 1945, the Navy was still at the Hollywood Beach Hotel. The Navy had taken over the hotel. They just said, we need it and we're going to have it. So they did. They had their men stationed there. I heard that they were going to hire somebody to work in their ship service. So I went down there, and believe it or not, they hired me. The ship service was like a store, and they had other things there, probably postcards and things that they could send home. And I was 16 years old, and another friend of mine that I went to school with, Montina Montaigne, she also worked there. The two of us did. And the sailors, they were hitting on us and asking us out and stuff like that, but it was a lot of fun. They were nice. When the school started, of course, I had to quit and go back to school. but I've never forgotten my time there. We have this book that was called The Quarterdeck, which is when the people were stationed there. And down here, they have a picture of the ship's service. And that could be me standing there. It looks like it might be. Anyway, that's when I was there, and that's what it looked like.
One of my favorite strolls, especially on a hot day, is a cool walk through what I call the catacombs. This area used to contain an outdoor organic market, and before that, an outdoor gym. Expensive shops line this passage. It goes behind Grumpy Gary's, which for years was O'Malley's, and also the beach resort pool. At night, let's say this alley gets very colorful and musical. Don't forget to stop at Georgie's on the way to pick up all your sundries and beach needs. Unfortunately, our Grand Hotel sits in a perpetual state of decay, while the Breakers in Palm Beach and the Biltmore in Coral Gables have celebrated and readapted their historic hotels and are reaping the benefits of treasuring their past by preserving and using these important buildings. Heading north, we pass by Logan's Bar, formerly Booze, a hookah bar, a Russian bathhouse, and a local brewery. Hi. This is the old McGowan's, once a cultural hub in South Florida. Every night there was an event, a darts league, movie night, local live bands, but now just the outside is open. There used to be parrots out front. It was kind of sad because they were chained to their stumps, but at least you know when you go into the men's bathroom that you can still get those important items that men need. Do you remember the movie Porky's? This was the scene where Meat had his face stuck in the bowl of chili. It's full of really eclectic art and stuff. You really should check it out. Just to the south is like an art gallery, and you can buy this art. And there's really some nice pieces in there. And sometimes you'll see the artist on the beach painting right in front of there. Here is the old Toucans. It was once a private residence. You can still see the fireplace in the old living room. A few years ago, it was featured on the TV show called Bar Rescue with John Taffer. And he changed the name to Bonnie and Reed's in honor of the two female pirates who may have hidden their booty nearby. Over the years, Mamacita's has taken almost the entire block over, and there's always a lively vibe. More 1- and 2-story mom and pop restaurants. One of my favorites is this Turkish place. They have great stuffed grape leaves. This Haagen-Dazs place has been here forever. The owner is really nice and friendly. And then don't forget to take a picture with Madison, the mermaid.
Hi, it's me, the gingerbread man. I'm here with Madison, the mermaid.
Right up the way there is the Coral House Hotel. It is now the oldest building on Hollywood Beach and it used to be a hospital. Also, the Costa is a high-rise building. It's oceanfront, but when you're on the rooftop deck, you can't see the ocean because they built these bump outs on the top of the building. I don't know what the architect was thinking. I think it's an Airbnb now. Further up the Broadwalk, there's Ocean Alley Restaurant. This is a great place for seafood, and they have live music. And then next door, they were lucky to not get burned out by the fire. This is what it used to look like right here. But I was riding up there about 2 days before the fire, and one of the restaurants had recently renovated. I said, wow, that looks really nice. I'm gonna have to check that place out. 2 days later, it burned to the ground. And I hear it's under investigation. But they've been doing a nice job renovating, and I look forward to seeing what comes there next. Here is the Sheldon Hotel. There used to be a Harley-Davidson apparel store on the first floor and a bar in the basement that was owned by the same owners as the famed Limelight nightclub in New York City. And on the corner, my friend Dave Levine used to paint your portraits before he moved to downtown Hollywood. Where are we, and why is this place so special?
We're in front of the Sheldon Hotel, and it had a gift shop, and my friend owned it, Ruth Trotter. She sold fruit to send to families all over when you came here for a vacation, and nice jewelry, lovely people. It was fun. It's seasonal. It was well, very few people here in the summer. The beaches were beautiful, but there was nobody here.
The Hollywood Beach Casino was built in 1924. It wasn't a gambling destination, it was a swimming destination. With 824 dressing rooms, 80 shower baths, a shopping arcade, and an Olympic-sized saltwater swimming pool, fed from the ocean. The pool also hosted water shows, with Johnny Tarzan Weissmuller performing here. I think it's appropriate that Margaritaville stands here today. It was once a beach destination, and it still is. Margaritaville recently got sold to some new investors, so we'll see what happens there. They also made a deal with the city to take over the programming of the band shell. Just north of Margaritaville is the Rooftop Resort, a nudist resort with a rooftop patio and pool. Almost every night from 7 to 9, there is a live band at the bandstand. Mostly classic rock and country and salsa, but occasionally some disco, jazz, or classical music, or tango.
And we're rolling.
Okay, this is the south side of the casino pool. This is where the baby pool was. It had grass, a huge pool, Adirondack chairs, a big area. The kids could play all day. They take naps there. Then you go up the steps into the casino pool, and it was large salt water, but I'll tell you about the front. As you come in, there was a big clear block thing, and the ocean water would come right in. You could see it gushing. The swimming, the high schools, and everybody had their practice here. And they had a swimming group called the Dolphinettes, and they used to practice here. But it was really, really nice, salt water.
Heading towards the Intercoastal, you'll see Rocco's Pizza. And if you've never had a breakfast pizza, I suggest you get one right away. For less than $20, you can feed 4 people. Also, Margaritaville built a nice restroom. There used to be a tourist information kiosk there, but that closed. Here's the Tangerine Tea Room where DeHaan sits today. I'm not sure if it's the same exact building or if it was rebuilt, but this used to be another destination where people would hang out, have drinks, dance, and visit with friends. And you can see that the bandshell wasn't always there. Here's a photo of the annual July 4th Baby Parade in the 1920s. Heading north, we'll pass Nick's, a really popular place, especially late at night. They had a recent renovation that took them a while, but they're back up and running and just as popular as ever. This is what it used to look like.
That was called the Beach Grill. And next door, there was nothing. Other things came later, like a little putt-putt golf and stuff like that, but there was nothing. This is Nick's farm. But when I was a little girl, my Aunt Gladys and Uncle Pal used to jitterbug here on the Broadwalk at night, and they would take me, and I would sit on the corner of the Broadwalk with a glass bottle of Coke and pickles or potato chips, whatever they gave me. Everybody danced every night. It was wall-to-wall music, fun. And maybe there was a little shop down there, but between here and Johnson Street, there was nothing except the beach. And everybody had big black inner tubes from trucks. That's what we use for the ocean. On the south side was Harry's restaurant. Everybody went to Harry's. It was big, with the chrome seats, with a little leather top, just cement floors. Everybody was there. It was really nice. And then further south, there was a couple little gift shops. And right next to the casino pool was a man named Mr. Buffalo. That's all I remember, had a little restaurant, small.
Next door, the Diane Oceanfront Suites was hit by a hurricane pretty bad a few years ago, and it took a couple years for them to renovate it, but it looks great, and it's one of the nicest hotels right on the beach. Further north, we'll pass by the Broadwalk restaurant, and on the right, you'll see a dune. Now, some people want to protect the beach with dunes, and some people want to see the ocean. So we'll talk more about that later and learn more about the Dune program. Past Florio's Pizza, grab another slice, and we're in Charno Park. Charno Park has a kids' water play fountain and a great outdoor gym. They're also the home to the historic paddleball courts. Look at this picture. This was the original paddleball courts back in the 1920s. Below that are the pavilions or the ovens.
Okay, right here on Garfield Street, there was a little guy that had a Model T, and he popped popcorn, and he had hot roasted peanuts, and he had a squinty eye, and he was here every day, and everybody would run down here to get it. And right next to it, there was four 4x4s with a roof, and it was a place for the pigeons to roost. They wouldn't have that today, but they did. And then you go down further, and we had the ovens. They called them the pavilions sometimes, but we called them the ovens. Some families would come in the morning and make breakfast. Then they have beautiful tables, everything there. Then nobody was there for a while. Then people came in the afternoon and made hamburgers, hot dogs, and were there till about 5 o'clock. And then everybody went home. But it was really nice. The grills were like this, big iron. Oh, and it was always clean. Nobody left trash. And they had a big pine tree I think it was about that big around. And all the Italian people that I knew used to come early and grab all those spots. And then there was one over by the ovens. Another one, but not quite as big, but of course there's none now. And the paddleball court, it's right back there. Everybody went there right after school and during school. I didn't play, but my kids did. Right along the beach from Garfield Street to a little past Johnson. They had telephone poles. The thing for the wings were chains. They had water fountains, and they were like pipes, the clay pipes they put underground. It was this, and they flare out. They put little things in it for water, for the little kids to get a drink, and they had sand in it. It was cute. And then in front of the Sheldon Hotel, they had jetties. I forgot to tell you about the jetties. They had them all out there to keep the sand from going out. But they removed them in, I think, the 60s.
Hollywood Beach does a real nice job on Christmas and the 4th of July fireworks show. Although the fireworks show ends at 9 o'clock and then everybody runs out of there and it creates a horrible traffic jam. I wish they had the band shell or something that would play music till midnight or whatever. The annual Candy Cane Parade, and we have a bicycle parade, and the decorations are really colorful.
This is a nice aerial photograph of Hollywood, and it's from about I-95. It looks like this was under construction at the time. This is Hollywood Boulevard and the different circles heading out toward the beach. And here is the Hollywood Beach Hotel. This is South Lake, this is North Lake, and then if you just follow my finger along here, this point right here is Johnson Street. And just a little bit north of Johnson Street is Garfield Street. And Garfield Street is a place that I spent time at in the early 1970s when I was a teenager. And my friends and I would go there and we'd hang out at the beach. Garfield Street is sort of famous for its paddleball courts, which are now considered historic. They were designated historic by the city of Hollywood. We did spend time there. We mainly hanging out on the beach. I tried to get a suntan, never could, just burned. And when we wanted something to eat or drink, we usually went to the Holiday Patio. This is now Florio's at the corner of Garfield Street and the Broadwalk. At the time, it was called Holiday Patio, and this is what it looked like. And so we would hang out there, and we would usually, pool our money and grab a hot dog and an order of fries and a Coke that we would split, because that's all the money we had at the time. One summer, a friend and I, who used to go to the beach practically every day, we met a couple of cute guys, and they were from Connecticut. They were staying there with their parents on the other side of the paddleball courts at a place that at the time was called the Rosemont Apartments. Originally, they were called the Carlson Apartments, and this is a picture of the Carlson Apartments, postcard. And this is also a picture, and I like this one because this shows that the Broadwalk did not extend at that point, and there are now buildings in front of these apartments, which are now called the Oasis condominiums. And this little house right here, a lot of people who go to Garfield Street will recognize. It's very pretty, it's pink, and so if you've ever seen it, I'm trying to do a little bit more research on that, which you might hear about in the future. And then last, I have this, which says Rosemont Apartments on this little sign up here. And again, the buildings that are now in front of it are not there. And you can see that these buildings have curved walls. This is called streamline modern architecture, which I've since learned. And they are attributed to Bayard Lukens, who is one of my favorite Hollywood architects.
This is the bike path. Don't walk on the bike path. People don't like that.
My parents brought me to Hollywood, Florida during the summertime of 1957. I was 10 years of age at the time, and we checked into the Sands Apartments on Hollywood Beach. When I was in my hometown of Spencer, West Virginia, I used to go swimming at a very large public swimming pool. When I arrived in Hollywood at the Sands, there was a whole ocean of water right before me. I was thrilled because I loved swimming. And so one of the members of the staff at the Sands took me out and showed me an imaginary line, and that I was not to go beyond this particular point. Otherwise, I might be bitten by barracudas. So I would go out and I would swim, and of course, once in a while, I would go beyond the imaginary line, and I did start thinking about those barracudas, and I would swim back to shore. Of course, over the years, I've gone back to Hollywood Beach a number of times, but I have yet to see a barracuda. The end.
Further north, you'll see the Marriott Hotel, one of the larger hotels. It's very popular, has live entertainment, good food. And right next door is the Walkabout Beach Resort. They have a tiki bar with live entertainment, and also the Riptide is nearby. That's a lot of fun too. Further north, there's Ocean's 13. Ocean's 13 used to be Ocean's 11, and the same owner owned a bar in Hallandale on Federal Highway. Well, that was years ago, and Ocean's 13 was closed for a while. Then it opened up as Ocean's 12, and now it's Ocean's 13. Just do yourself a favor, when you're on the beach, stay hydrated. On July 4th, I saw 3 people being carted away for dehydration. So drink up water. Again, there's a few more really colorful, fun houses all up and down Hollywood Beach. A lot of them are available for Airbnbs, I hear, but I've never stayed in one.
I was born in 1957, and I still live 64 years later. I know I don't look that old. Here in the city of Hollywood. We lived at 2206 Fillmore Street, and I remembered it was 3 miles to the beach, and every weekend we would go to Hollywood Beach, to the Broadwalk. My family would take us. My father would have we didn't really have coolers back then. It was an old-fashioned igloo container, and my mother would make sandwiches, and we'd have a picnic on the beach. I remember the old stores and restaurants up and down Johnson Street. There were trampolines, a miniature golf course, and there was a arcade there where we would play. We'd win tickets to buy prizes, kind of like the Dave and Buster's of its time. There was a little aquarium, restaurants, novelty shops. Some of the old motels are still there, actually standing. And DeVito's by the Sea was knocked down to make way for the Positano. And I had the most happy memories. My father teaching me how to swim in the ocean, putting me on his shoulders, going to the sandbars where some lifeguards would be sitting outside telling us to go back because there were sharks in the area. And I had the pleasure of going with my friends in the late 60s, early 70s, and then bringing my own children back into the 90s. And as I got older, I would walk up and down the Broadwalk, back and forth. And it was, sometimes I would go to Dania Beach and all the way to the Quad Domain, and it would be a 7-mile walk. I can't do it anymore, but those were the happiest days at the Broadwalk and the beach.
Development of Hollywood continued at a rapid pace until September 18, 1926, when the Great Hurricane hit the area and left hundreds dead. The resort community would rebuild, but not before Young's Hollywood by the Sea went through bankruptcy and many of the city's initial investors and speculators sold at a loss. Dania Beach and Hollandale Beach petitioned to be annexed into the city of Hollywood, but after the 1926 hurricane and bankruptcy, they didn't want anything to do with that and withdrew their offer.
Something you may not know about the 1926 hurricane, which obviously was disastrous in Hollywood. People seem to think in general that they didn't know what hurricanes were, or that they didn't even know that this one was coming. That's not actually true. They being the weather people in Miami, were actually saying, ships at sea are now telling us there's a major storm coming and we think it is going to track your way. Word did get to Hollywood about this major storm coming through telegraph, and they also had train signals. They had ways of announcing it. But the city of Hollywood didn't take action immediately. You know, they had 24 hours warning, but they didn't take action. Well, the reason was their leader, Joseph Young, the leader was actually out of the city. He wasn't there. He wasn't in contact particularly with anybody in the city because he was up north buying more barges as he was building the city. So the second and third and fourth in command tried to figure out quickly what to do, and they didn't have wood to cover the windows. They really didn't have any plans. Last minute, they were boarding windows up. And on the beach, they did get people to leave the beach. Mostly they could go into the beach hotel, the major hotel that Young had built. It was completed. So at least 100 or more people were in the beach hotel during the storm. It became an island when the storm hit. It's been standing, obviously, all this time, so it was very, very solid. A few windows blew out. The hotel was really so solid, but the water went completely through it, the ground floor totally through it, creating to the Intracoastal Canal, and filled that ground floor with sand. But Young was able to clean up the hotel and open it 2 months later for the 1926-27 season. If you'd like to read in detail about really anything about the founding of city, try my biography of Joseph Young. But we have 20 oral histories of people, most of whom went through the storm, and their various stories are quite interesting.
A lot of people believe that the sea level is rising, so a lot of people are concerned about the future of Hollywood Beach.
In 2009, I live on the beach on Harrison Street in A1A. And in 2009, when the water would come up on the king tide, it was like this. And you say, oh man, there's some water. And then in 2011, that water was like this deep during the king tide. This year, it was this deep on the king tide. And coming right over the wall on the Intracoastal, right onto A1A. As I understand it, they're talking to the Army Corps of Engineers, and I'm glad they're talking to them, but nobody's doing anything about this problem. There's been talk of a seawall. You know, we make a seawall here in Hollywood and then flood Hallandale and Dania, or are we going to go from that cut to that cut? There is nothing happening except procrastination, and the Earth doesn't really care. Actually, it's trying to heal itself. So that's what's going on. So back in September, we had a group of volunteers from Sealand, the cargo hauling company. And they wanted to come out and they wanted to adopt a dune. So their corporate sponsor, their corporate partner, Dream and Green, and of course Youth Environmental Alliance came out here with approximately 20 volunteers, and we planted over 2,000 sea oats here. And I don't think some of them really understood why it was important, but I hope they'll come back here one day and they'll see their efforts were for a good cause and they actually were effective. And I hope for generations to come they will bring their children and also show them the work that they did. So we're going to go down to the other part of the dune, and we always provide educational, information as well. And this is the sign that we posted here on this dune, which describes the program and why dunes are important.
Protect the oceans, protect the rivers, save the trail. Come on, Tim. What do we want? Clean energy. When do we want it? Now. What do we
The
want?
Hollywood Community Redevelopment Association, or the CRA, was established in 1997. The CRA and the city built a retaining wall, Moby mats for handicapped access, showers, water fountains, restrooms, planter boxes, benches, and a lot more. The new LED light fixtures with shields decrease the light pollution and create a safer environment for nesting sea turtles. When the retaining walls were first built, they had neon light inserts, and it was pretty magnificent. They changed colors and everything. But within about 6 months to a year, it all rusted out. If you go down to the south part of the Broadwalk where we started, you can still see some of the glowing neon lights in the Broadwalk. But my favorite feature are these mosaics that feature different things about Hollywood. On Roosevelt Street, it talks about the guy who rowed his boat from offshore of Africa all the way to Hollywood Beach 50 years ago on his canoe called the Britannia. The last major building that you're going to see on the Broadwalk is the Positano. It was built within the last 10 or 15 years, and it's an upscale condominium complex. Next door at North Beach Park, there's a tower that you can climb up. Before the Positano, you could see all the way down to the beach, all the way clear down to Miami. The tower has been closed the last couple times I went to see it. I don't know what's going on, but who knows, maybe they're going to build a taller tower to look over top of the Positano. Wouldn't that be nice? Further up in North Beach Park, at the end of Sheridan Street, are the picnic areas. It has grills, picnic tables, lots of sea oats you can sit under and be shady. It's a really good time to spend a Saturday or Sunday, but get there early because it fills up quick. Also, there's Zach's Snacks, which features barbecued ribs. I haven't had them yet, but I'm gonna try them. All up and down this area is metered parking and also entrances so you can enter onto the beach. This part of the beach tends to be a little less crowded, especially during the week. So let's go for a swim or build a sandcastle. Or we could even get an ice cream. Now I'm just going to take you on a little excursion over to the Intercoastal at this point, because here's a little secret that most people don't know about. There's this really neat deck built right along the Intercoastal. There's two of them that you can walk along, fish, or just hang out and watch the nature and scenery and boats go by. Keep heading north and you'll come to the Carpenter House. This was once a private residence, but it's now a community center. There's a rescued handicapped turtle that lives in the swimming pool. Over by the Carpenter House is where the Lions Club has their trash cleanup. Join them next time.
Lions roar!
Beach Clean Patrol! Let's go, everybody! Join us!
Join us next time! And heading further still, you'll come to this pathway. This was damaged by a recent hurricane also, and it was closed for a little bit, but it's open now. And if you walk or ride your bike alongside it, it'll lead you right up to the Dania Beach Pier. So as a final excursion, let's take a quick ride on the water taxi. If you haven't taken the water taxi up to Fort Lauderdale, you should. Take the early boat, spend the day in Fort Lauderdale, and come home on the last boat. It launches from Margaritaville's 5 o'clock somewhere bar. You can get some discount tickets for bars and restaurants along the way. And the captain tells some really interesting stories and tidbits of information about all the stuff that you're going to see along the way. Highly recommended. Here's an abandoned dock that's going to be undergoing some change soon, I hear. And this is Homeless Island and the sailboat hangout. You know, you don't have to pay any taxes if you're in a boat. You just live there, and that's what people do. And here's that deck we were on earlier I was talking to you about. Further north, you'll see Tiki Tiki. This was recently opened and it has rave reviews. I haven't been there yet. Before it used to be Jimbo's. That was a lot of fun. They had karaoke and great times. And before that, it was Martha's. And Martha's was the launching point for the Sun Cruise Casino, where you would ride out to the Bahamas. And then there was that controversial murder of the owner of all that, Gus something, I forget his last name. So we're going to end our tour here at Port Everglades, which I feel is very appropriate, because this was also a brainchild of Joseph Young. The building of Hollywood Harbor at nearby Lake Mabel will provide a great new seaport where industry will be developed and add to the business activity and prosperity of this thriving, growing city. Come to Hollywood by the Sea in Florida and learn what life can really hold for you. It was once Lake Mabel. He wanted to develop it into the Hollywood Harbor, and now it's Port Everglades, one of the busiest ports in the world.
And the other one was to make YouTube videos.
Hey, thanks for strolling with me on Hollywood's Broadwalk. And I do mean stroll. When you visit, walk slowly, stroll. Take in the sights, the sounds, the smells, the synergy of my beach, your beach, our beach, Hollywood Beach. I'll see you on the Broadwalk, or maybe on Surf Road, but that's another story.